we hear? You heard my call. You're imbalanced, Swoopy.
How would it Swampy looking for stuff? It calls to you.
Okay, and welcome explorers and welcome to the show. Thank you for sticking with us. Today, I'm joined by my good friend across the pond and arguably the most handsome chap in Kansas. It's Jimmy.
Hey, everybody.
Today, however, we are unfortunately without Taylor because while she was feeding the lions, she was succumbed to by the lions and has been eaten alive. No, she's actually away on some outer rim business. How's your week been then, Jimmy?
Well, it's been good. It's our first full week off from school, and I think just like you, I celebrated my wedding anniversary.
Yeah.
Which was crazy to find out that you and I both share, not together, we share with our wives, the wedding anniversary. So that took up a couple days of my time. But yeah, it's been great. First year went really, really fast.
Awesome. Yeah, exactly the same as you. Same anniversary. I think we should do an episode on Star Wars widows at some point. Get the wives on the podcast.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Have them on. How many years for you?
Wow, we put it straight on the spot there. 8 years?
Uh-oh.
8 years, I'm
8
good
years?
to go.
8 beautiful years. Gotcha.
Yeah. What about you?
All right. This is our first.
Oh,
so
nice.
We've been together about 4 years. You know, our first year married. So, yeah, it was fun.
Awesome.
Hopefully, they're all just as much fun as this first one.
I'm sure they will be. A man of your stature and a lady like Molly, I'm sure they will be.
Yeah.
Cool. Right. Let's go into the news from Batu then. Take it away.
All right, so Echo Base early bird tickets from episode 13 are going on sale. This event happens on the 7th of October. The big collectors event in the UK held at the Kingfisher. I checked this out too. They're going to have a dinner possibly the night before.
Yep.
And you get sat down with someone like from Star Wars. I think that'd be very cool. Have dinner with them. It's only £60 per ticket. I'm telling you what, I might have to fly back over.
Well, if you do, you can stop at Michael's. I'll definitely be going.
Excellent. Ming-Na Wen has had her star revealed on the famous Hollywood Walk of Fame, which is about time for this lady. I mean, you think about all she's in. Some people forget that she was the original Mulan.
Yeah.
And then she makes her way into that Marvel series on television, which I cannot think of the name, nor did I ever watch it. And then now she's in Star Wars. So, I mean, she is Disney, Lucasfilm, Marvel. I mean, she's got it all. So she finally got her star. And then because of the writer strikes, it looks like Mando Season 4 is going to get pushed back. This is going to have some, I think, some repercussions with the strike, and which I don't blame them. They should get paid what they deserve. I know they do a lot of good work. But I think that this is probably just the first thing in a dominoes that's going to get pushed back, not just in Star Wars, but everything else is going to get pushed back. And then Empire Magazine will kick off their event June 8th. The Empire Magazine is going to release a big article on Ahsoka, which I think you're going to talk about here in a little bit, but I'm pretty excited to see all that because they did a pretty good job with Mando and Andor and all those as well.
Yeah, they did. They did like a secret event as well in the UK, which one of our listeners, Mido, was lucky enough to attend. So again, if Mido, if you're listening, I'm sure you will be. If you get to attend, you have to let us know. We might send you on a secret mission. Just sticking with the Ahsoka stuff, Ivana Sakno, I don't know if I pronounced that correctly, gave a bit more light on her character called Shin. She said that Shin is quite an intensive, ambitious force wielder. She says she's very skilled in lightsaber contact. She's a new character, and she's trying not to give too much away. But she's looking forward to the audience discovering who she is. A bit away from that then, so to celebrate the 40th anniversary Return of the Jedi, Topps have reissued their Return of the Jedi Topps cards. One of them having the lucrative Mark Hamill signature on. Again, so I'm pretty sure the collectors will be on that. And speaking with Hollywood Reporter, Mark Hamill mentions that Return to the screen now, he thinks is very unlikely, despite ideas about him floating around, no pun intended, as a Force ghost in the new upcoming Rey films. So yeah, and that's all the news that we've got today.
I saw he mentioned something too about a recasting of Luke, so maybe he's ready to move on. I don't know. He's been a great ambassador for Star Wars, and we're lucky to have him. But yeah, I can see he might be. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Or maybe it's a double bluff.
Oh, well,
Maybe
yeah. I
it's a
mean, we
double
get those a
bluff.
lot.
Yeah.
So
Cool. So weekly Force encounter, and there's nothing from me really. What about you, Jimmy? What Force encounters have you had this week?
wow, man. Last week I barely had any, and then this week I think I have quite a few. Said it was my anniversary, and my wife knowing what I love, as you can see behind me, this is our basement. She got me a variant cover of the first Marvel Star Wars not magazine comic,
Yeah.
and has this really cool art on it that I love. So she got me that since it's the anniversary is paper, and then I finally beat Jedi Survivor.
Nice.
Like I said, when school was out, I was going to dedicate some time to that game, and I really need you to beat that so we can chat about it and do an episode, and we can kind of compare, Fallen Order to Survivor and just kind of dive into it. But I think you're going to be excited to get through that.
Oh yes.
And then this morning, I took the VCX 100 out, my Jeep. That's the license plate on it. If you know anything about Star Wars, you'll know what that ship is. And we took it out, and it is now covered from top to bottom in mud from these muddy planets around here. So that was pretty fun. After this podcast is over, I got to go clean her off those. So yeah, tons of Star Wars stuff this week. It's been a really Star Warsy week for me. It's been great.
Nice. Yeah, once I get some well-deserved leave in, I'll be hitting that Jedi Survivor. We'll get that completed. We'll definitely put in that on a future episode. Love to hear the listeners and readers' thoughts on that as well. And can't wait to see this cover as well. Hopefully, we'll put some of those pictures up on the socials, mate. Okay, so main topic we're going to go through today then. So we've delved into the Jedi archives. And
perhaps the archives are incomplete.
If an item does not appear in our records, it does not exist.
The Jedi archives, and this week then I've been reading all about Marvel's Star Wars, The Bounty Hunters, and also The War of the Bounty Hunters. I don't know if you've seen any of these before, Jimmy.
I have them all.
Nice.
But that series winds, I think they're on number 34.
Yeah.
I think it just came out last week.
Yes, 34, yeah.
But it also like intertwines with Dr. Aphra. It intertwines with the Crimson Reign stuff. So honestly, I'm not up to date on it. I plan on trying to tackle it this summer.
Awesome.
Make some sense of it.
Yeah, no, I'm about the same. I've only just recently started getting into Star Wars comics. But I'll start off with War of the Bounty Hunters. Essentially, we know massive spoilers in this, but Star Wars War of the Bounty Hunters, it's basically about Boba Fett and him trying to transport his cargo to Jabba the Hutt. Essentially, there's lots of different things that happen. Ends up with Boba Fett's head being given a bounty, quite an expensive bounty, and you see all the bounty hunters essentially just chasing Fett and also the cargo that he's containing, which again is no surprise is Han Solo, and that's the first 5 of them. How it starts. I got a little bit confused.
That's what.
Yeah, go on, Jimmy.
It's just that's where I was at when I said that is some of these, knowing which ones to read and how it all kind of ties together is a little complicated on that series. It is so long.
Yeah, massively. So I began then reading Star Wars Bounty Hunters. Again, essentially these comics then entwine with the Star Wars universe, like Jimmy was saying. From the first 5 being the Boba Fett mini adventure, if you like, to the background behind the bounty hunters and what they're doing, why Boba Fett has trying to get this cargo away. So you see the whole point of view from different bounty hunters essentially, and the whole rigmarole of getting a bounty from Bespin to Jabba's palace, and it's no easy task.
No,
it
it's
is
definitely not.
no easy task, and it's got all your favourite bounty hunters from Zuckuss to Bosk. Zed Forlam's in there as well. Dengar's in there. He has quite a big part to play. There's also different syndicates that you'd be aware of if you've watched Solo, the film. Again, Jabba's in there. The Hutts are in there. And it introduces a new bounty hunter, Valance, I think his name was. Valance. It's like a half human, half cyborg. And where I'm up to at the present is about, I think it's 20. You've just started to learn a bit more background about Valance and where he's come from and how he's ended up essentially being half a cyborg. There's lots of key characters from the films that appear in there throughout. If you love bounty hunters, you cannot pass this opportunity up. If you get your hands on them, definitely highly recommend them. Excuse me. But like Jimmy said, it does get a little bit confusing where to read. But fortunately for us, Marvel have put like an idiot's guide at the back, so you've got exactly what issues fit where. So yeah, I had good fun this weekend reading that and putting those together. Anything you want to say about those, Jimmy?
No, I'm looking forward to diving back into them, and it kind of makes me want. I know this is selfish on my part, but Solo 2 to finally happen, so we can see some of these bounty hunters in action. This would be an awesome series or a movie where you could just follow these bounty hunters, and it brings all those characters that you saw for like 5 seconds in Empire.
Yeah.
I mean, the IG guy was like drilled into the floor, couldn't even move. So I think that it would be pretty cool to see these. I'm excited to use that guide and work my way through all of the comics. So yeah, I'm pretty excited to read those.
Yeah, like I say, they are brilliant books. And one of the things I liked about them as well, I forgot to mention, is the Bounty Hunter books. They fit in between where the War of the Bounty Hunters fit. So, for example, Magazine 1 of Star Wars War of the Bounty Hunters, that would encompass, say, episodes, magazines 1 to 8 of Bounty Hunters. So again, you're seeing it from all different points of view, and yeah, it's really, really clever. But thankfully, they've got the idiot's guide in the back, so we're squared there. One of the next books again that I've read, again, it's a whole book about different perspectives and views of different characters, and exactly what Jimmy said, it gives more light to these characters that you've known for years. This book is called Tales from the Mos Eisley Cantina. It's edited by Kevin J. Anderson. I was fortunate enough to win this when I was at Celebration from the guys at Cantina 2. Yeah.
Very cool.
And that was one of the prizes. So I've been reading that this week. And it caught me off guard because it is such a good book. We're under no promotion payment or anything like that. But yeah, it is fantastic. It's essentially a number of different mini stories by lots of different authors. Some of the authors, again, you'll know of. Timothy Zahn's in there. Kevin J. Anderson's in there. Man. Yeah, some quite big names. I'll just give you a brief overview of a couple of the stories. So the first one is essentially called "We Don't Do Weddings: The Band's Tale," and it's just about the the band from New Hope, the guys that play all the flutes and stuff like that.
The Nodal Tones.
Yeah. So it's essentially about those.
Fig Randy.
Yeah, and another crime lord on Mos Eisley, or Tatooine, if you like, wants them for her wedding. However, her main rival is Jabba the Hutt, so there's a big hoo-ha from that. Quite funny, to be fair. Next one is about Greedo, and you get a lot of background about Greedo and how he was, how can I put this, naive and eager to prove himself. I found myself really falling in love with Greedo in the sense that he just wanted to do good for himself and do well. However, we all know what happened to him. But you see that play out. Again, throughout these stories, though, that the famous scene in A New Hope where Luke's in the canteen from the droids getting told that they're bored, they don't serve their kind, to Greedo getting shot. All these stories, majority of them, the characters are in that scene, and literally in the book, it's saying stuff like some farm boy walked in, or one of the stories is about one of the stories down the line. I've literally finished the other night was about a Force user. He had some sort of sense in the Force. He wasn't a Jedi though, but he believed in the Force. It was like a pilot. Again, he was in the cantina, and an interesting thing in the book was he mentioned where Obi-Wan walks in. Obviously, he doesn't know he's Obi-Wan. He said some old grey guy walks in. He said he could just sense something about him. There's lots of things in his story as well where he's thinking about the Force and certain things happen. But again, I'm not going to spoil anything. It's just brilliant, like the different points of view on it. There's a one again about the Tanaka sisters. Again, quite a mysterious artists, if you like. They're essentially con artists. They essentially get put in prison. They have some information, and it turns out that information is about a certain battle station. So again, there's more stuff in that that's leading up to A New Hope. Again, you've got the figurines battle tales are in there. You've got a tale about the bartender as well and his life. Again, absolutely fantastic.
Cool.
Yeah, he's got a really a funny background as well. You've also got the Euphorian in the bar as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, his tale's in there as well. Again, you get really emotional with some of these characters because the authors they do a brilliant job, as we know, but you really feel for them. Another quick story in there as well. I thought it's very clever. Is about a Jorah, where he goes back to his sandcrawler, and obviously what happens in A New Hope, Jimmy, with the Jorahs.
Oh yeah. Oh no.
Yeah, so he goes back.
Ooh.
He sees these, and he basically goes on a revenge run. Yeah, honestly, it's fantastic. So yeah,
I have to read that book.
Honestly, it is cool, mate. Like so many little side stories that include the New Hope films and that. But yeah, the Jorah goes on a manhunt, if you like, and then obviously with that, there's a tale with the stormtroopers when they first land. Again, so you're following the view of a stormtrooper. Again, just from that, you get the idea that they haven't got a clue what's going on. They haven't got a clue why they're there.
Yeah.
It's absolutely brilliant. There's tales from Ponda Baba as well, the famous Ponda Baba, and Dr. Evazan, I think his name's that, Evazan. Yeah, there's just so many interesting stories in it, mate. That's like it blows my mind. It opens that film up as well, like massively.
That'd be very cool. I'm going to check that out. I think.
Yeah.
I have to add that to my list. So, very cool.
What about you then, Jimmy? What have you been reading then, Jimmy?
All right, so the big one for me this week, over the last couple of weeks, has been the Phase 2, the High Republic comic. There's been a 10-run issue that goes along with Phase 2. And they have done, I know we were talking about this off air, but they have done an amazing job tying these comics, the books, an audio drama, in together and then weaving these characters in and out. And they did it in Phase 1 as well. And I think that I have more hope for the movies and stuff like that moving forward because of how well they've done this, because you got comics. I mean, you have all these different formats. And of course we're getting the Acolyte. I think that's going to kind of be the capstone to all of it. And then I think once Acolyte comes out, people are going to want to go back and they're going to want to read, if they haven't read The High Republic. And I do believe in a few years, you're going to hear about movies coming out because this has been amazing. But anyways, Jack, have you ever seen this small movie called Rogue One?
I have, mate. Yeah, I have.
All right. Not many people have seen this movie, right? But there's a scene where they go back to the city of Jeddah, right? They introduce this Gareth Edwards. I wish he'd come back to Star Wars and do another movie, but he has this. If you remember the scene, they're there, and there's that Jedi statue that's fallen over.
Yes. Yeah.
And you wonder what's happened to this statue. This 10-run series actually kind of covers that. Like you don't see it happening, but it starts out.
Okay.
It's so cool. I wasn't even sure. I didn't realize I wanted to know why that statue had fallen over.
Yeah.
You see it and you wanted the history, and that's what I also want to think too, is like they've done a good job of tying stuff in, because I'm sure when Rogue One was out, they did not have the High Republic plans.
No.
No. But anyway, so this starts out with a new Jedi introduced to us called Vildar Mac. In the first comic, he has some flashbacks from when he was a kid. Shows some of the stuff that he's been struggling with.
Yeah.
There's a Padawan called Maddie, and she's a Twi'lek. And they meet up, and she meets him at the, basically the airport, and it's like, hey, come with me. And he quickly sees in this episode, in this comic, that Jeddah is not a good place for Jedi, right? And I think there's more history there too. Like Jeddah has become a place that the Jedi are almost despised.
Yeah.
And because there's all these different religions now that focus on the Force. You have the Sorcerers of Tund. You have the Falanasi. They call it the White Current. They have the Yakambi. I'm probably not pronouncing these right. You have the Lanto, the Matukai, the Church of the Force. Like, you have all these different groups, all these different pilgrims coming to this city. And of course, you have the Path of the Open Hand, which is, a big part of this phase 2.
Yeah.
But anyways, he's going there to work with the Convocation of the Force, which is a council that all these different religions come to. They sit on. They have a representative there, and they talk about. I don't want to go into a lot of detail, but they just kind of try to work out any issues between the different religious factions and things like that.
Yeah.
And of course, it starts out with all these robberies happening, and then a murder happens. And there is a character called Ty Sarek. He's a Sephi. He's kind of like a street hustler, thug. You don't know really if he's the bad guy or not. And then him and Vildar Mac, they kind of clash. And their story kind of builds, and the mystery starts to build. And then just towards the end of it, you're introduced to Master Gabon and her Padawan, Olivia, and the Path of the Open Hand shows up. Now, these ties into the events of Convergence. There was an audio drama called The Battle for Jeddah, which if you haven't listened to, it is fantastic. Introduces a lot of new Jedi and new characters. It kind of picks up from where Convergence left off.
Yeah.
It also brings in the people from the Path of Vengeance, I believe, is the first book.
Path of Deceit.
Then,
Path of Deceit.
Path of Deceit. Sorry, Path of Deceit, the first book in that series, and it kind of ties everything in. And then the book Cataclysm that I'm reading right now, I'm about 3/4 of the way through, and it has been excellent. It builds up, and it just, I'm kind of all over the place here, but that book has been so good because you don't know if these Jedi live or die.
Yeah.
And we have lost a lot of them along the way in this journey so far. And I do think it really makes it, like, I found myself being nervous when I was reading, and I'm like, oh, this is so good. My wife's like, what's going on? I'm like, I'm really nervous right now. I got to figure out what's going to happen with these Jedi. But so that all kind of comes into it all comes together in this comic book. And the Herald of the Path of the Hand, he incites this riot, and all hell breaks loose in the city. All right, people want to get to Jedi. Everyone's trying to fight each other. Vildar has a flashback from something that happened to him when he was a child, and they get tied into this bar with this alien that's in the books and things like that. But then, while they're there, they get in this, and the Master Lubone calls for her Padawan to come out to the final protector, the last guardian statue. Apparently, according to this comic, there were 4 of those statues that stood when the Jedi controlled the city or ran the city, or really the only religion that was there with them and the Guardians of the Wills. But it's the final statue, right? And so they're getting out there to try to stop it, and they don't, unfortunately. And the statue crumbles. They set some charges to it. They don't stop it. So I believe that's the one that you see in Rogue One, because it would be the newest one to fall. But that's like 400 years before anything that Rogue One happens. And then there's some stuff hidden down there that the Path of the Open Hand needs. you finally get some explanation for the Leveler, or they call them the Nameless as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
Those force feeding beasts, you get to see them in the comic. They are terrifying. I think if I saw one of those, I'd probably run screaming the other way. It does have a happy ending for the Jedi and for Tysarek and for Maddie, and I do believe that Olivia makes it through. A couple of them don't make it,
Yeah.
but it ties into it. And then, of course, the next book after that series happens is the Cataclysm book, which I'm almost
Okay.
done with, and it kind of picks up from there, kind of intertwined, because the Herald's not in that book because he's basically been captured in this comic
Got ya.
for inciting this riot, and he's kind of taken out of the picture, which, if the mother had that planned or not, but I think I'll find out in that next book.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty excited for that. But yeah, I say a lot of times they say that, these comics don't necessarily push the stories forward, and some of them, some of it's filler. There's 10 episodes or
Yeah.
10 comics. I keep calling them episodes, but some of it is filler. But it also builds the characters, and being able to go back and read all 10 in a row, I really, really found myself enjoying it. And I liked how it set up some stories. And if you're new to Star Wars comics, it's a great place to start. It's a great place to dive into the High Republic. I just think it's an awesome, and it's only 10. It's only 10 comics, so you can get in that
Easy read.
for not very much money, easy reading, and then you can see if that's my thing, if that's your thing. If it is, great. If it's not, you can start with the books. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm excited. I started the Blade.
Oh, love the Blade.
With Porter Angle. So
Love the Blade.
I just started that this morning, I believe. So I'm gonna jump into that, and I know that they have another, the High Republic.
Oh god, you put me on the spot again. Yeah, with where she basically turns into a pirate. Oh, what's her name?
Yeah,
I've started to read that one as well. Yeah,
and so that one's been pretty good as well. And she's like traveling around with Maz Kanata with is it Dexter Jester? Is that him?
Dexter Jester.
Or is that just a character that looks to him?
No, I think it is. I think it's Dexter Jester.
Yeah. So I have to go back and I'll reread those. And I started the Yoda series, which is a pretty good.
Yeah, I need to get on those.
Yeah, there's so much out there that's new with the comics and the books. I love it. I didn't think I would.
Yeah.
I'd love to read. I've always have, but these have really. And I didn't read what is now like Legends.
Yeah.
I didn't read a ton of that when I was a kid, but I've really gotten into these stories, and then just having a comic book set like that really, really helps.
100% agree with you. I'm totally down with the comics now as well. I was exactly like you. I wasn't say I was a big fan. I was just a bit apprehensive because I started the High Republic stuff late. I just thought I'd stick to the adult novels. But then coming from Celebration and speaking to loads of the fans, they were always recommending these comics. And like you said then, one of the ones that we were talking about, the High Republic Adventures from Dark Horse, is Sav, Padawan Sav Malagalan. If I said that completely wrong.
Yeah.
Sav. But yeah, so it says Padawan or Pirate. But again, in that you meet Maz Kanata. Obviously, we know Maz from the Force Awakens onwards. So that just goes to show how old Maz is. Because again, we don't really know a great deal about Maz either. So clearly, she's been involved with Jedi for years upon years. But yeah, totally agree with what you're saying, mate. The comics are fantastic. I think the comics that you were talking about there with the what's the Jedi's name again? Sorry. Was it
Vildar Mac?
Vildar Mac, yeah, like absolutely brilliant character. Kevin Scott's done a fantastic job on those 10 comics.
Oh.
Like, he's unbelievable. Just like you're saying.
In his books.
Yeah, you just get so involved with him, don't you? And that's what a good book is.
Yeah, 100%. I think his books, his comics have been phenomenal. I'm glad that he seems like he's kind of the centerpiece to it all. It all kind of comes out from him. He seems to be kind of like, I don't want to say in control of it, because I know that they share the workload, and listening to them.
Yeah.
At the last two celebrations, you can tell they have a really good rapport with one another.
Yeah.
And they really work well together. And you can see that in the writing. You can see that in the storytelling. And I hope that continues. I wouldn't mind seeing some of these guys and ladies jumping to the big screen.
Yeah, I think they'll definitely have an involvement. And again, a good point that you brought up there was, I think with the comics and the books, there wasn't a lot of expectation. I think people thought it might just pass over and it wouldn't last as long as it has. And they even said at Celebration, they couldn't believe how packed the hall was. They weren't expecting it.
Well, I tell you what, Celebration Chicago was my very first celebration, and that's when they kind of announced Project Luminous, and that's all they said.
Yeah.
And then you fast forward through COVID and everything. And you don't know how much was going to be told the next year, but we went to Anaheim, and I went to all the book panels.
Yeah.
That's all I could get in. Like, I kept losing out in the lottery and stuff, but so I decided I'm going to go to those since I can get into them. And, it would be half full, maybe. I got up front on every single one. I mean, I was sitting in the front row for all of the High Republic stuff and comics. And then you went to Celebration Europe, London, and those places were a madhouse. And it was so cool to see. You have people cosplaying. I had one guy like freaking out, fanboying out hardcore. It's not really my style, but like, I really was like, this is pretty cool to see these people freaking out, screaming, so excited about these characters. And it's really grown. I think it has to have exceeded their expectations.
Massively. Absolutely massively. Again, totally agree. It's just certain characters resonate with certain people as well. Because there's so many characters, you've got the opportunity to pick certain ones. But again, like you said, because there's so many Jedi, you don't know who's going to survive. Obviously, we've got the big thing with Buriaga at the minute. Is Buriaga, did he survive? Who knows?
Yes.
So
I fingers are crossed that Burry is still around. But yeah, and I also too let our listeners know we've got Starbird Files wants to come on once we've all finished this phase 2.
Yeah,
and he knows this stuff inside out and backwards.
Big time.
We're going to bring Johnny on, and we're going to have a rundown. You can tell, I think, the passion for this is here. And Johnny's he's like an encyclopedia when it comes to this stuff.
Oh yeah.
For the young kids, we'll have to explain what encyclopedia means, but he's like Google for
literature,
the High Republic. But he's going to come on, and we're going to do a little rundown of phase 2 and what we're hoping for phase 3. So
100%. We'll get him on. Same with phase 1. We'll do a quick recap, what's happened, where we're at, who we are. And any High Republic fans, let us know what you like. What's been your favourite book, comic to read? What character's been your favourite? What moments haunting you at the minute? I know I've got a few.
There are a ton.
Oh yes, just to put you on the spot slightly then, Jimmy, who or what is your favourite High Republic character so far from the books?
From all of the books, like phase 1, phase 2?
Yeah, if you could choose one at the minute.
Well, oh my gosh. There's... that is really hard. Master Comac.
Okay.
From phase 1. He has a couple scenes in a couple of the books. He's not in too many of the bigger books. I think he kind of gets overlooked, but you got Reese Silas in there, but yeah, Master Comac has some quotes that I've really have, and where his character goes in the end is kind of like, whoa, what's going to happen here? And then of course Ember, the Charhound, just being a dog guy, I absolutely love seeing a Jedi with a dog, and I want to see that in a movie. And this dog just absolutely goes to town on the Nihil in the I think it's the second adult novel
Rising Storm
in that series. But man, that's it. What about you?
So
because that's a good question.
So I've got a thing with characters at the minute. So my original one, again, just starting from the book that I'd read, was Loading Greatstorm, and things didn't end up too great for him. But again, a big fan. Buriaga, again, things may or may not have ended quite well for Buriaga. Another one that I liked as well from the Fallen Star, I can't remember her name now. Not Ava Chris. It was the one had the white lightsaber. She's on the cover of Fallen Star.
Oh, Solange
Solange
Rowe.
Rowe. Big fan of her again. Not a great
Yeah,
ending.
I hope you don't.
Yeah.
Please tell me you don't like Vernestra Rowe.
Yeah.
Please leave her alone.
No,
Vern.
I've said nothing about that one at the minute. Phase 2.
Thing.
I do like Martian Rowe. I think the lore behind him is fantastic. I've only read the Path of Deceit at the minute from Phase 2. Again, I did quite like Kevmo, but again, I left it at that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Nothing ends well. There are two characters that show up, and I don't want to give anything away for you, in the Cataclysm. And I got like schoolboy giddy getting to see these two characters in action. And then one of them kind of takes off and gets into the story towards the end.
Okay.
And it's just so awesome to see this character, this Jedi that you know, get involved and just be like wise. And I mean, it's really cool.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good ones. Creighton's son, Charil Roy, a couple of the Jedi Masters. You know, I liked Vildar Mack. I like, he didn't get fleshed out as much, and there's so many. Some of the girls too, as well, have really important. Gela, and I think I'm trying to. Man, the names. Some of the names are escaping me because there's
so many.
It's one
I have
part
to look them back up.
of the High Republic. My wife read the first book, The Light of the Jedi, and she's like, I can't keep track. I'm like, I couldn't either. I had to read it twice.
A lot of people are the same.
But yeah, it is tough, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I think a lot of those Jedi are they have great stories. They flush them out. They're all so different. But I'm worried about all of them right now. The way that this series is going, I got a high level of concern about the Jedi in Phase 2, and then hopefully we get back to Phase 1 soon.
Yeah,
or not Phase 1, but that group of Jedi.
Yeah,
back to the beginning of.
I do like Bell. Bell's at the far as well. I like him.
Oh yeah, there's a Jedi for everybody.
100%.
Like,
it's just mine keep dying.
You just find like. Yeah. Well, he's still kicking, so him, he's got Ember there to protect him, so I think he'd be all right.
But yeah, no, big fan of those. I was going to say as well, I think, like you mentioned it as well earlier, with the Acolyte and certain characters that come from that. The biggest thing, and again, you keep mentioning it, it keeps making me think, you're right again. Just because from Star Wars, and this is for everyone of all ages, as soon as you hear the word Jedi and you see a Jedi, you're instantly attached to them. Straight away, you get attached to Jedis. The beautiful thing about the Acolyte is there's so many Jedis again. And like Leslie Edlam was saying, but because there's so many Jedi, there's so many different ways Jedi can die. So I think the Acolyte, that's another reason why I can't wait for it.
Yeah, that's going to be a great show, I think.
Oh yeah. I think that's about everything, Jimmy, for this week.
Yeah, I feel like I probably could go on for another 3 hours talking about the High Republic, but we'll save that for some other episodes.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's going to be a good one. That I'm looking forward to as well. Just to give a bit of a rundown as well, we're going to be doing a sort of build up towards Ahsoka as well, just with characters, key moments, again, just to help people that haven't seen it or don't remember much from it, then the build up for Ahsoka. Just a couple of shout outs again to some recent followers. We've got Darth Anu, Brandalorian66, and Groovy NGE 027. Again, thanks for following us. Just a couple of questions for our explorers out there then. Okay, if you had to pick a favourite character from the Phoenix Squad, who is it and why? And also any predictions for Ahsoka. So please, again, hit us out on the social medias, on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, at Explore the Force. Leave us any comments, subscribe, likes, please, rate us, give us feedback, tell us what you want to hear, tell us what's working, what's not working, and hopefully check back with us next week to see if Taylor's been revived from the zoo, and leave us any thoughts. So, without further ado, from myself then, the ability to speak does not make you intelligent.
We have spoken.
See you next week.
We have an incoming transmission from the Outer Rim.
Hey guys, so I didn't get eaten by a lion. I survived! I have a really quick force encounter, very short. Driving to work this week, I saw a Jeep driving down the road in front of me, and he had a mythosaur decal on the back of his Jeep. And I went, oh, that's awesome. And I kind of went to pass him a little bit, gave him the side look, and gave him the Boba Fett nod. He got super excited, he got all excited and he smiled and he goes, oh, and then he puts on a serious face and he gives me the Boba Fett nod back and it was like, yes!
Very
So
nice.
at that moment, I was really wishing that I could have just ninja starred one of our cards over to him, but we were on the highway, so that wasn't going to happen. But anyways, making friends. This week, I pulled out of the archives the comic series, just the mini-series, Jedi Dark Temple. So I didn't hear too much about this. I'm hearing about it now that Survivor's coming out. But it's actually a prequel story to Jedi Fallen Order. And it's got Seer Junda as a Padawan in it, and it has Eno Cordova, who we love him, and he's exactly like you see him in the game, just so into all of this, the history and like the monks and like the stories that they, all of their beliefs and stuff. So he's exactly the same in the comic, and I really liked seeing his character more. Honestly, I could read it in his voice, my friend. We have.
He does have an awesome voice.
Yeah, he does, right? So it worked out perfectly. But I almost wish that I had seen this comic series before I played Jedi Fallen Order. As you guys know, I still have not played Survivor because I'm broke. So I'm going to enjoy this story one way or another. But so this comic, Dark Temple, is actually almost impossible to find it these days. So don't even try to find it on Amazon or in any of your comic books stores. I looked everywhere. But I ended up buying it on Marvel Comics. I think it was like $7.
Okay. I was going to ask you.
Yeah, it was like
I was going to ask you how
$7.
you found it. So
yeah, I think it was like $7 Canadian on Marvel Comics, and it's actually pretty cool. Marvel Comics app on my phone, and I think the app itself is free. So you have all your different collections of all your different comics or miniseries, and you can like double click into each picture, and it'll show each frame at a time. So it's not like you're seeing the whole page of the comic at once, and like your eyes obviously go to the bottom right away really fast, and they go back to the top, and you're like, damn it, I just gave it away for myself, but I just can't help it. Or at least that's how I read comics anyways. I'm not patient whatsoever.
yeah, that guided view is super helpful. I'd never read comics really as a kid, and I got that guided view when I started reading Star Wars comics, and man, it helps because it goes to where it's supposed to go, and you know who's supposed to be talking. I'm like, all right, this is how it works.
Yeah, right. And you can focus on like that image. I don't know what it is about me, but I could read comics like 4 times in a row, and I just can't. I don't have like the memory storage for it like I would a regular novel. I don't know why. So every time I pick up a comic, I have to go back and read like 5 pages over again, even though I've got my bookmark, but I don't know. That's just me, even though I'm like a super visual learner. So it's like completely opposite for my brain, but I don't understand. Whatever. Anyways, so the story starts off, it's Seer and Master Cordova, and they're sent to this planet called Ontotho?
Yeah, I don't know. It's been a while since I've read those ones.
It's got to have the O, just like everything, like Bogano and everything in the Jedi comics or series. Yeah, right? Someone likes the O's there. So they start up on this planet, and it is a Republic represented planet, but there's like a sovereign nation called like Phylar. So it has these freedom fighters of Phylari people, and They actually have their little base right outside of an old Jedi temple. But they don't actually know this is like, actually, you know what? I don't believe it's a Jedi temple. Towards spoilers, people, spoilers. Towards the end of it, it ends up being the Zepho. It's a temple for the Zepho. So
Oh, good
these,
connection.
yes. So these Phylari people are trying to protect this temple from the Republic because they want it to stay like sacred. They don't want it to be excavated and stuff. Because of course the Jedi are going to find this and go, "Oh, we need to investigate this." So they send Seer Junda and Cordova there to work out. I guess there's this like little like war happening between the people there. Um, so it's called the DAA Corporation or the DA Corporation. I dislike that name a lot, so I'm going to call it the DAA Corporation, and they are trying to get into this temple to exploit what's inside of it, its force powers, its history. They're looking for, I mean, another word for magic stuff, right? So they want to get into this temple. They can't do it by themselves. So they actually, the DAA Corporation, contact the Republic and they say that they're being attacked by terrorists, which actually is not happening. So they just can't beat these Phylari people who are just very committed. They have endless resources to keep these guys out. And from what it looks like, the staff of this corporation are terrible at their jobs because apparently they just look the other way when there's a huge commotion going on behind them. So any local business. And they actually, the Republic sends a couple of the Jedi, as they do, as their peacekeepers, and they get mixed up in it. Seer and Eno end up getting completely separated. They both think that each other has perished in this explosion that happened. The Seer actually goes with the Phylari people, and she learns this story, and they are actually telling a big lie to her as well. So nobody's actually telling the truth here. But this is actually where Cordova finds this crazy passion that he has for the Zepho and for their belief system. So in Jedi Fallen Order, you're pretty much, if you haven't played the game, go play it. What's wrong with you? Go play this game, Jedi Fallen Order.
It is phenomenal.
Oh, it's so fun. I haven't even played Survivor, which is the next in this 3-game series I believe they're doing. And now we also have the Battle Scars book coming out as well. So there's a lot of stories between these characters, between Cal Kestis and Seer and Grease. And BD1, oh, cutest droid ever. So in the end, they do come to an agreement, which Cordova says it's not going to last long, but this is the best we can do for now. Let's get our studies in really quick of this temple while we still can, because the war between these people is going to continue, and this is not going to last just because of their intentions. Which in the book you do see, or sorry, the comic. And one thing I did really like about the comic is it jumps back and forth in time. So it's jumping between the Inquisitors that are actually hunting Cal currently. They're looking for other Jedi, obviously, but they're on the same path that they know that Cal and Seer are following. So they don't know that, Master Cordova has hidden these secret messages in this droid, and he's like saying these as they're finding recognition points in the game and in the different temples and planets and stuff. But you have the second sister who's on Ontotho, and they are they know, she knows exactly what it is, what temple this is they found. She even says they don't Cordova does not know what he has found, but I do. And Seer, Junda, and Cal Kestis cannot hide from me any longer. So then it jumps right back to the timeline of the game, which is very cool. And then it jumps back into when Seer is a Padawan again. And as all Padawans are, they all don't 100% agree with their masters, and they think that they could be doing a better job, and so on. Seer, I love Seer's character. She's very to the point. She has no bull crap. Doesn't wait for all the fighting to happen. She just wants it to end right now. Like, this is enough. She uses the Force to push these two arguing people away from each other. And as we know, she does actually dip into the dark side in bad times later on, right? So you can kind of see it a little bit in this comic book where it's going. But at the very end of this comic, does get out word to the Jedi Council, like, hey, this is not as it seems. We need backup. And we need to study this temple that we've found. It's not going to last long, etc. And they do send out 2 Jedi from the Council. Do you know who those Jedi are?
I honestly, it has been since they came out, these comics were released, so I wouldn't be able to tell you.
So one of them...
I feel like Mace Windu or
Yes,
something.
you're right. Okay, so one of them's name is Odu, or Adu. He's an Ithorian Jedi Master. He actually doesn't end up making it out of the temple because there's a whole lot of bombs and explosions. It does get destroyed pretty much by the end of it, and it gets mostly covered up. So later in the years, this is when the second sister finds it half torn down, but she kind of knows what's going on. She also comes across a droid named Enthrilo who is following Seer on her journey. And she plugs him in, charges him, and she says, what happened here? And he's half blown up. And he says, the Jedi are what happened. Jedi came here. And she's like, yes, I knew this. This confirms it. Perfect. So we have Odu who comes, which is one of the Jedi Master from the Council. And Mace Windu comes too. The last person I expected to be in this comic. There's not even a little picture of him on the front of the comic or anything. They kept this, it was great. That last issue of the 5-issue miniseries did not come out until a month after Fallen Order had released. So people were already playing this game before knowing how this comic ended, which might have been their way of kind of blending everything together. I don't know if they wanted, maybe it should have been finished before. But anyways, to the people who actually read this comic at the same time as playing the game, I envy you because I wish I had done this. And in the end, Seer Junda gets knighted from being a Padawan by Mace Windu, which is super cool to me.
Very cool.
Yeah, and then you kind of see her past a little bit, and then in the game she tells you more about her past, so you kind of end up actually following Seer's a lot of her life, which I love in these miniseries. That's what they do. They're like enrichment when we don't have movies or these big games coming out, because it is a lot of work to get those big games out. How long do we wait for Survivor? 3-4 years?
Oh, yeah, that felt like at least 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
I'd have to look it up. But...
Yeah, right? And I mean, to me, it doesn't really feel that long. But then again, I did play Fallen Order 5 times. So it's actually fun to play it through with Cal dressed as an Inquisitor. They don't acknowledge what you're dressed as, but you're dressed as the bad guy, but the bad guys are like, oh, look, a Jedi, even though you have a red lightsaber. So I had fun with that. But
yeah, it says here 2019.
Yeah.
So 4 years in between. But it's a long time, and I hope we don't have to wait. I'm not going to spoil anything for you, but there's definitely going to be a third. It has to be a third game.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I did think that this comics kind of did a better job. I would say these comics, these 5, tie better into Fallen Order then Battle Scars really does much for Survivor.
I
So
I
you'll have
agree. I haven't even started Survivor, but all I've heard from different people is that you absolutely did not need to read Battle Scars. Apparently, it doesn't really have anything to do with it, but I haven't read it, so I may be completely wrong.
well, there's a couple things that it kind of sets up for you in the game, and then there's some stuff that happens as the game goes on that you're like you're kind of waiting for it to happen, I
Yeah.
guess. But I think that they did a pretty good job with the that comic series.
Hmm.
I do think the timing was kind of weird, like you
Yeah.
said, that it didn't come out prior, or like maybe like two issues came out, the game comes out, a couple more issues come out or something like that, because Jack and I talked about the High Republic ones and how that all blends and kind of weaves its way through the books,
Yeah.
but they have gotten better
They
at it,
have.
and so I'm assuming we'll see more, lead up to whatever the third game ends up being.
Yeah, it's almost like they
So
were testing the waters with the novel. Um, I mean, Sam Meggs, the writer of Battle Scars, she's amazing. She's actually Canadian. I've had a little bit of a chat with her. She's
oh,
great. But I won't get into
very
Battle
cool.
Scars today. But she is a very great person. You
Yeah,
can follow her on Instagram. She's hilarious. She's great. And she really cares about her
yeah.
characters.
I thought she did a great job.
Yeah. She
You could see that in the book for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, she did a great
Yeah.
job.
Well, anyways, that is my wrap up of my archive special this week.
Very
Yeah.
nice.
And just
Awesome.
and one more thing. Seer and Eno Cordova actually do fight some Sentinels that are in like Jedi Fallen Order, like those big
Oh,
giant droid, what are they, like made in the
oh
Cepho's
yes.
image. So they do fight one of those
Mm-hmm.
in
Yeah, those things were
in the comics. So I thought that was really cool too.
very cool.
Everybody hated
Very
those
cool.
guys.
I do have. Yeah, they were a pain in the butt for a while. This kind of ties in with what Jack and I talked about a little bit earlier, but um, he asked me, I'm going to ask you right now. You've only read Phase 2 so far,
Yes.
but who is your favorite Jedi so far in Phase 2?
Um. Oh my gosh, my favorite Jedi. It's gonna be Gela. Gela Netai. I think she's so badass, pardon my language, but like 10 minutes into meeting her, she's walking, levitating in the air, practicing just walking on the force. Like, what? We've never seen this before. Like, she's literally so powerful that she can just walk on the force. Like, if I'm saying it wrong like that, then I apologize. But I think her double lightsabers are so cool. Sometimes she only uses one. And like at one point, I think she loses one of them, and like Axel Greylark has it, and like they have this crazy relationship, and she's a Jedi who doesn't know who she is, and I feel like that is a lot of the Jedi, right? But she's still trying to find out what she wants to be. Like she's a Jedi Knight. She knows she wants to be a Jedi Master, but she's like, maybe I'm gonna join like the Pathfinder team. Like maybe I'll fit in better there. I've had some bad like things happen recently, and I need to find my own path. And just how calm and down to earth she is, I love it. Like she's fighting her own battles in her head, but damn, she can talk. And there was one scene in, I think, Convergence and or one page, and Axel goes, "So say you weren't a Jedi, would we be together?" Something along that lines, because you can tell they both like each other, kind of deal. And she says, "If I were not a Jedi, I would not be who I am." So this question is pointless. And he was like,
Yeah.
okay then. Not the answer he wanted, but
No, definitely not.
Yeah, and she has like this good respect for like the other Jedi. But yeah, it's gonna be Gala. For me, I haven't read Phase One, so I know there's a lot of Jedi out there that people say are just amazing, and I'm like, I don't know who they are yet, but but I will. Um, and I think a close second would be Salandra's show. I should have remembered that. She has a super cool name. Um, but yeah, she's a close second for sure. Just how I like her shield. We've never seen a Jedi have a shield before, and I feel like more of them should, right? Like, the Jedi are not about attacking first and trying to suppress any arguments and try to talk things through first. So she has a shield in case someone attacks her first, which makes sense to me. You can actually buy that shield from Galaxy's Edge, and I think probably the Disney stores too. I saw somebody buy one, and then they completely stripped all the color off of it and all the paint off of it, and they made it like their own cool Jedi shield, but with all the cool electronics and stuff to it. I was like, yeah, that's sick.
Very cool, yeah.
That's sick. So, yeah.
I liked her in the Young Reader book. She used that shield a ton on that planet.
Those
I
are from
can't
Phase
remember.
1, right?
No, that's Phase 2.
Is
She's
it? Oh.
Phase 2 because all these Jedi, that's 150 years before all that stuff happens in Phase 1.
Right.
But, yeah, she uses it in one of the Young Reader books to like fight off these monsters. It is pretty cool.
Yeah,
it's definitely neat to see. One of the things about the High Republic is like all these Jedi doing things a little bit differently.
Yeah.
They have that. They have a lightsaber whip. Like there's all kinds of cool stuff out there.
I saw that.
It's very
cool.
So.
I haven't gotten into that yet, but I've seen that the Jedi whip.
It's pretty cool, and it's a pretty big character in the Phase 1.
Yeah.
So I'll be curious if they bring that forward later on. But yeah, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Acceptable answers.
All right. Yeah.
Well, anyways, guys, that's it for me this week. For Light and Life, I have also spoken. See you next time.
That'll do it for us this week. Thanks for joining us again. Remember, you can find us on all the social medias that Explore the Force. We're on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. Don't forget to like, share, leave us a review, leave some comments, let us know what you like, let us know what you want us to talk about. Have a great week.